This clip is brought to you by SaveWithConrad.com.
Vince changed his mind. He saw that, well, there's kind of something here. Because Taker went to Vince, says, I like Jack. He liked Jack too, but Jack Daniels, but he liked Jack and was willing to play ball and have a new dance partner. Because Taker knew at the end of the day, he's going over.
Right.
But in the meantime, you got to build the guy so that the 7-foot babyface is perceived by the fan base as being in trouble, i.e. being in jeopardy. So it worked out nicely.
But, I know you said it a few times, but I feel like we should zero in to maybe people who aren't picking up what you're putting down. A 7-foot babyface presents a unique challenge because when you think about, the great sympathetic baby faces of all time, you think about guys like Ricky Morton, where his selling is so believable because people are dominating him for the majority of the match.
Size,
the big hot tag, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
How can you be sympathetic when you're bigger than everybody? Right.
That's right. Well, I learned that working for Bill Watts. Watts was on the territory there in Mid-South, as everybody knows, in the UWF. And he was a 300-pound babyface.
Right.
And he and I had a lot of philosophical discussions on the business in general, which I'll always be indebted to Bill for. He was brilliant. Really was brilliant. He had interesting ways of showing his brilliance at times. But boy, he was a brilliant dude. It was a matter of psychology. And, it's hard to feel empathy or feel like your hero's in jeopardy if he's 7 feet tall and weighs 300 pounds.
Right.
So that was Mick's thing. Mick was, we thought Mick had the ability, and Taker was willing to go there. That let Mick, who's also 300 pounds, Mick's 6'4". So the matchup was pretty good, but Taker, it was a breath of fresh air for Taker. He finally had a heel that could get heat on him, serious heat, because Mick was so reckless, quote unquote, dangerous, unpredictable, all those things. So that's the deal about the 7-foot baby face. You've always got to have a heel that can match up with him psychologically as well as physically. So you're right about the Ricky Morton analogy, Ricky Steamboat analogy. There's been a lot of great baby faces, but they always had the one thing on their side was size.
Right.
They weren't the biggest dog in the fight. Taker was always the biggest dog in the fight, except when he fought Yokozuna or somebody like that. And that's why he liked work with Yoko so much. You go back and look at the parallels, look at the evidence, Your Honor, that Mark Calloway loved working with Yoko because Yoko made the audience believe the dead man was literally in big, big, deep water.
Let's talk about his debut here. He's going to debut the night after WrestleMania 12. He beats Bob Holly with the mandible claw. The debut match is fine with Holly because it's going to lead to something really big. I mean, Raw goes off the air and Mankind attacks the Undertaker and drops the elbow off the apron. I mean, on your debut night to have all of this happen, you get a win and immediately we're programming you with Taker and you're getting to do your iconic elbow off the apron onto the floor that so many WCW fans were familiar with. For a guy who it didn't feel like maybe the company was so high on, by the time the vignettes are in the can and he's actually in the ring, they're going with him, are they not?
Oh, absolutely. And look, let's not discount the input and the influence that Undertaker had in this whole equation.
Right.
When Vince saw that one of his most iconic stars, i.e. the Taker, wanted to do this program and he was rejuvenated to a certain degree, that's magic for a promoter. Because not only is both men are very, very much equally invested, and Taker was so unselfish that his job was to get Mick over, so that somewhere down the line, when the story concluded, that when Taker went over, he would have beaten somebody significant, and it would have been a great win.
Let's talk about that night when it's off the air. You're done. You're backstage. And Mick Foley, as you said, had tried to get into the company on more than one occasion, 2 or 3 times maybe, and it hadn't been successful. Now he's here and he's had his big debut. He showed off his new character and he's working with the Undertaker. Is he elated with the way this all went down? Was Undertaker happy? Do you recall how Vince felt? Like, holy shit, we really got something here.
Well, Vince is going to be happy because Taker's going to be happy.
Okay.
And you always want to keep your stars happy if you can. And it wasn't the fact that Taker was high maintenance or he needed the attention and all that stuff. No more than any other human being needs attention and a certain level of adulation. So I think everybody involved was happy. I mean, Taker was willing to take that elbow off the apron. Mick was more than willing to give it to him, because nobody, at least in my view, had really done anything that significantly damaging to Taker, because you got a 300+ pound guy jumping off the apron and driving his elbow into the heart of the dead man. That's pretty strong shit. And again, it takes 2 to tango. It actually takes 3 to tango, because you still had to have the blessing, so to speak, of the owner. And the owner's he was all in at that point in time.
We're off to the races, and you got to wonder, because the Undertaker had a lot of very brief feuds. I mean, we all remember the silly stuff with Giant Gonzalez, and I mean, it felt like there were a lot of stop and starts. We were just, maybe once upon a time the company was looking for a monster heel factory for Hulk Hogan, but once upon a time they're looking for other monsters for the Undertaker to slay. And I could see how you would think, well, this might be a 1 or 2 month deal. Would you have ever predicted that they would go on to have just multi-year feud that they did? Or when did you know, hey man, they click? Was it more, did you see that backstage, or did you have to see it on camera before you were sold on, this is a long-term deal here?
Well, I knew they had chemistry, Conrad, from the get-go, and that's kind of the basis of getting Mick hired, that he and Taker liked each other. They're 2 old pros, and, Taker just made it to WWE before Mick did. It could have worked the other way around, and circumstances had fallen differently. But I believed all along that they had a chemistry. And I also believe very strongly that Mick's his physical stature, his ability to promo, his stiff, strong style, if you will, whatever it's called, whatever you want to call it, was magical. It's just, we had to develop a story. And to make that happen, you got to have the support of the owner, and the 2 talents got to be on the same page. Luckily, in this scenario, all those boxes were checked.
Let's talk a little bit about what's next for Mankind, the character. He's going to have a loose affiliation with Goldust, where they're going to attack the Undertaker. And it's almost like Taker here has 2 programs going on at the same time. Do you think Goldust and Mankind were paired together just because their gimmicks were so, for lack of a better word, weird?
I think that's exactly why they were paired together. People are still trying to figure out what Goldust was.
Right.
Is he androgynous? Is he a gay character? Is he a bisexual character? What the mystery is surrounding that. And then you get the same thing with Mick. You wonder, well, what levels will this man go? Speaking of Mick Foley, before he, to hurt somebody, to win a match, basically. So the mystique with both characters was present. That's what they had in common. And I think that, and also at that time, my nose itching. That time was, Taker needed more dancing partners, and Goldust is somewhat new. He's establishing himself, and who better to establish a heel than with the bull of the woods, the Undertaker? So Taker was very unselfish. He enjoyed working with both guys, but their weirdness, as you pointed out, was kind of their common denominator.
Hey, it's Conrad Thompson. Thanks for checking out the podcast here on YouTube. Be sure to hit the subscribe button and the notifications bell so you get a notice anytime we upload some new content. And go save yourself some money right now. If you're in a 30-year loan or you have credit card debt, it's not a matter of if I can save you money, it's a matter of how much. Find out right now for free at SaveWithConrad.com.